This is a Mayan calendar video based on Fibonacci time calculations and consciousness. And I've been doing some number crunching on my computer for the Fibonacci and the math to go with the Mayan calendar for each consciousness cycles. Each underworld brings great change in consciousness, and from what makes logical sense on the way I see mathematically how the Mayan calendar works, and experientially through everything that I've witnessed, it seems that the halfway mark brings certain massive change in each one. And the next one that we have facing us is around the time frame of the second week of January 2010. If my calculations are correct, it should be give or take a few days from that period. But nonetheless, around that time, a big change is going to happen. Now, what this change would be is the realization of the next consciousness, because that's how this seems to me how this consciousness works. With each underworld cycle, around the halfway point of the cycle is where you're able to see and understand a lot more clearly what the next level of consciousness brings. So 3.5 million years ago, the only consciousness to start was action-reaction. At that point, they would start to see themselves of having a consciousness. The halfway point of the next one was understanding the individual response, and that happened something in the area of like 250 million years ago. And that's when the dinosaurs would have understood each other to be different from other dinosaurs based on that consciousness. And no surprise, 200 million years later, they went extinct. They killed themselves off because of the massive fear energy that is around us based on the information that I've talked about, positive and negative energy, or to the response to what this video will explain anyway. That's why we would have killed each other off back at that time frame. But enough about the past, about the present now. This is the big one here. The current consciousness is truth, right and wrong, ethics. That kind of consciousness is the current one. And the previous one we had was power. So when we move to the halfway point, which is January 17 time frame, that means we're going to see the next consciousness, which is called conscious co-creation. And in my theory, in my belief, in my instinct, and that's what it really is all about, is trusting your instincts, is the ones that are able to accept it and take that next consciousness in full control, full grasp, will really dominate and do a lot more wonderful things as future times go on. And basically what I am saying is, say for example at the last 50% mark, say for example Donald Trump, that's when we were going from the consciousness of law to power. His consciousness, whatever he was at that time, would have went right after that power consciousness. And at the halfway Fibonacci point, I think is when his consciousness, his soul, if you will, would have really went after that power, and that's why he's been able to manifest what he has. So now when we move to the new one, that's what it to me is all about, is just letting go of the current one. Yeah, the next one is truth. Just believe that everything you have said to be true, everything that you have researched to be true, everything you instinctively think is true, or whatever your instinct tells you to be false is false. That's really what it comes down to. When you leave that behind and focus more on the creation, I think they're the ones that are going to grab it by the full throat. At least that's my early opinion on the situation, and I'm only going by feel, but that's how I'm going to be manifesting or creating or going through my consciousness, trying to go aggressively at understanding this conscious co-creation over the next 8 months. So some other Fibonacci results I'll get to in a second, but Fibonacci is a number series that is quite simple. You take the two numbers 1 and you keep on adding the numbers together. 1 and 1 is 2, 1 and 2 is 3, and then 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, and it just goes on higher and higher. That's how Fibonacci works. I don't know a lot behind it, just that it's a very powerful universal tool actually, and I know the Mayan calendar is universal. And I know in stock markets they have Fibonacci retracement numbers at 23.6%, 38.2%, 50%, and 61.8%. So in the current cycle, the 23.6 retracement mark would have came in around July 16, 2006. I'm not too sure what the 23.6 would signify. I'm sure, I mean, it's 23.6% in this current cycle moving into the next. So whatever, anyway. 38.2% retracement was October the 23rd, 2008, in and around that time. And that's when we had the massive economic explosion and the stock market crash in that period. January 17th, 2010, like I say, is a 50%. And around November 30th, December the 1st of 2010 is the 61.8% retracement of these Mayan calendar consciousness. I've looked at some previous 50% retracements all the way through, and every single one had massive changes from the research that I have done. So this is why I'm going on the theory that this is going to be a massive change coming in January, and my instinct is telling me by accepting the next consciousness and forgetting and just letting the previous ones be, those are the ones that are going to excel the greatest. That's just my opinion, and that's how I'm going to try it. And just like a stock market though, where if you're trading stocks, you can have the opinion of it going up or down one way, but then you see something and all of a sudden that's going to change your mind, or something that's going to give you new information. That's what I do all the time also. So right now that's how I see it, but as each day and week moves on, I'm going to obtain new information to adjust how I think things are going to happen, because right now it's like I can barely see what the next cycle is all about. Before I could barely feel it. So I know that this cycle is extremely real. At least that's how I feel it. Anyway, thank you for watching. Feel the love, accept the love, and share the love, and take care, everyone.